Welcome to Movie Postmortem, where we dissect films of all kinds, whether they're good, bad, or those guilty pleasures we just can't quit. I'm Reggie Hill, and I'm joined by my nephew Isaiah Brown. Together, we're here to examine what worked, what didn't, and why we keep coming back for more. So grab your popcorn because no movie is safe from the scalpel on Movie Postmortem. Hello, everybody. Thanks for joining us. On today's episode, we will be covering Home Alone, the 1990 Christmas film starring Macaulay Culkin. If any of you are unfamiliar with the film, I'll give you the brief log line. An 8-year-old troublemaker mistakenly left home alone must defend his home against a pair of burglars on Christmas Eve. The film was written by John Hughes and directed by Chris Columbus. The main cast members that I want to cover briefly are Macaulay Culkin as Kevin, the 8-year-old who's left at home, Joe Pesci and Daniel Stern as the burglars, Harry and Marv, and Catherine O'Hara as Kevin's mom, Kate. So this film, I can't remember. Was this one you chose or this was just on our list? I don't know who actually chose it.
I feel like this was a collaborative effort.
Yeah, this was a collaborative effort. So why don't you tell me about when you first encountered Home Alone?
I don't know. I owned a TV while I was growing
Yeah,
up.
exactly. Home Alone is one of the most successful Christmas movies of all time. When it came out in 1990, I believe it was around November, it was the number one film in the box office for 3 months and grossed close to $300 million just domestically. Made a lot of money internationally as well and was one of the top selling home videos of all time. It was actually the number one highest grossing live action comedy for 2 decades until it was beaten by The Hangover Part 2. So to say that this film was ubiquitous is an understatement. Home Alone was everywhere. As you said,
And
if you
still
had a
is.
TV, you watched Home Alone at some point in time.
Absolutely.
Why don't we give our initial spoiler-free summaries of the film? Not that you can really spoil Home Alone much. So what are your initial thoughts?
Hmm. I still believe that Home Alone is a very solid movie.
Okay, so what is your opening score?
Opening score, a 3.5 out of 5. Maybe a 4. We'll see.
That's fair. I also had a hard time figuring out what I wanted to give this movie. I'm going to start with a 4 out of 5, and maybe throughout the discussion, my score might get lower. Like you said, this is a film that was on TV all the time, and I think that's one of the reasons that I haven't actually watched this movie intentionally in a really long time.
Yeah,
It's
it's almost like a mosquito that just forces its way into you.
I know we always say try not to talk about movies that we're not going to review. I usually watch Home Alone 2 at the holidays. I don't watch this one. I
Yeah,
feel
the Trump one.
yes. And even without that, I realized watching this that most of the gags, the funny moments involving the burglars that I really love are actually in part two. They're not in this film. So I think this is a nice Christmas film. And in many ways, watching this, I realize why I like the second one better than this one. If you don't like Macaulay Culkin's acting in this film, you're going to really be bored or maybe a little put off by Kevin throughout most of the film until the end. So that's
Yeah,
one of the things that I think your mileage may vary.
I was thinking about that too. This movie hinges on whether or not you can stand a kid for an hour and 30 minutes.
Yes, I agree 100%. We'll definitely talk about that in our cause of celebration or death.
Yeah.
So we'll start off with 3.5 and a 4. Great. So let's recap Home Alone for people. The film opens and establishes complete domestic chaos. It is Tuesday, I believe, on Christmas week. The McCallister family in Chicago, Illinois, are hosting a lot of relatives from out of town as they prepare to get on a plane the next morning in order to fly to Paris, a trip that the father's brother, I believe, paid for. I spent a lot of time. I know a lot of people on the internet talk about how did they afford this house? How could they afford the trip to Paris? Were they rich? So I try
Hmm.
to pay attention to that while rewatching the film. It's noisy. There's a lot of yelling. Kevin, Macaulay Culkin, is 8 years old. He is not a brat, but he's a smart aleck.
Yeah, well, let's just stop right there and address this real quick. because I believe what they're trying to set up here is that Kevin is supposed to be the black sheep of the family, but he's eight.
Yes, we see Kevin as a kid who is really being bullied, mistreated, and disrespected by all the members of his family, essentially. He wanted a cheese pizza and somebody eats it. He gets upset about this, inadvertently causes a little spill of Pepsi, and his uncle calls him a little jerk in front of
Yeah.
everybody in the family. Everybody's
Again,
making fun of him.
Dad, what the heck?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kevin is, again, he's a sarcastic, smart witted, bratty kid, if you might want to say that. I like
Which,
when his mom forces him to go upstairs. She says, "Tell everybody good night, Kevin." He says, "Good night, Kevin." She says, "Go upstairs." He says back to her, "I'm upstairs, dummy." So Kevin is not like an angel kid. He's
yeah,
got a mouth on him.
yeah, but I think I think the reason why I'm such a Kevin like defender or sympathizer is because number one, he's eight, and number two, I always go into mentalities like this when I see kids like being bratty or whatever, to where like if they're lashing out, that probably means they're hurting.
Yes, 100%. And we see that pretty easily. Kevin's relationship with his parents that we can see early in this scene, they're ignoring him. He wants somebody to help him pack. He wants his mom to get off the phone. Or even when he says, why don't you get off the phone and make me when she wants him to do something, he wants her attention, but she's busy talking to other people on the phone. The only people who are giving him attention are his siblings and cousins who are basically tormenting him, calling him stupid, all kinds of stuff like that.
It's such a huge scene in the movie when Kevin's getting sent up to the attic. You can very clearly see that what she is right now with Kevin, she just doesn't have the patience for it.
Kevin is sitting on the stairs. His mom is banishing him to the third floor attic. This is going to be the whole reason he gets left behind. He's supposed to be sharing the bed with his cousin Fuller, who wets the bed. He complains about
Yeah,
this to his
he'll pee
mom.
all over me.
Yeah, I love that line. And also, interesting tidbit, I think most people know by now, his cousin Fuller is actually played by his real life brother, Kieran, who went on to become a very successful actor, Kieran Culkin, who has done great things. So when his mom banishes him to the attic, he's sitting there on the stairs. He says, "I'm sorry." And she says, "It's too late now." And I felt like that line where she says, "It's too late." Like, this is your kid acknowledging that he's been a brat, but saying, "I'm sorry." And instead of saying, "Okay, come back downstairs with us," she just says, "No." Because as you mentioned, she probably just doesn't have any time. And this is where he says, "I hope I never see any of you jerks again." The next morning, there is a storm overnight. The power gets knocked out to their house, the phone lines get taken down. They needed to be ready to leave to go to the airport at 8 a.m. They don't wake up until the airport shuttles have arrived at 8 a.m. They wake up, realize that they overslept, and we get a montage, as you know I love, sped up chaos of everybody trying to get ready to get into the airport shuttle.
Yeah, which first of all, let's just say this because this was a two-part effort. On one hand, they forgot Kevin behind because stress, anger, lack of patience, lack of accountability. And second part because fate just kind of and luck just kind of just screwed them over there. Who was that kid? And where's your parents? This random kid just coming over.
This is where I really like this scene where you see how Kevin was missed. They show that this is something if you pay attention in the film. You see Kevin's ticket being thrown away because of the Pepsi spill when they were having pizza the day before. When his dad is cleaning up the spilled Pepsi, he accidentally grabs Kevin's ticket and throws it in the trash. You see this. The next morning, Heather, who I believe is one of his cousins, she's doing a head count of people at the shuttle van. One of the neighbor's kids who just comes over and just keeps grilling the shuttle drivers with all these questions, including
Yeah,
asking what kind of gas mileage does this thing get.
yeah, he's the Kevin stand-in for right now.
She counts heads, and because Buzz is being annoying, because the boy who they think is Kevin is just digging into a bag in the shuttle and not looking at her, she touches his head, counts him, and the kid just walks away. Part of me places part of the blame on her. This is Heather, who I believe is his cousin, who doesn't actually live there. And I don't think she knows enough to know what Kevin really looks like. That she doesn't really pay attention to this. So she did a head count, but doesn't actually confirm the identities of the people that she counted.
Yeah, and also Buzz, shut up.
Yes. So she counted correctly. She verified the number of males, the number of females, the number of adults, but they didn't realize that the neighbor's kid just left. He didn't even get into one of the vans. The family then gets to the airport, and you know me, I love a needle drop, our new favorite word. Run, run, Rudolph playing while they run through the airport. I was like, classic, gotta go with the trope. As they get on the plane, hand all of the airline tickets, which you can see the airline agent doing like kind of a head count to make sure the number of tickets that she has matches the number of people who are there, which works out because Kevin's got thrown away. They get onto the plane. Kevin wakes up completely alone in his house.
Yeah, and what happens next is there's a little moment where Kevin feels like scared because again, he's by himself. So he replays everything they just said to him the night before. He's like, I made my family disappear.
Yeah. And he's ecstatic. He's jumping on the bed. He's watching the bad movie that they didn't want him to watch. I love Angels with Filthy Souls. It's such a funny fake movie.
Yeah. I looked that up like halfway through the movie. I was like, is that even a real movie?
The thing that I really like about this is Kevin is 8. He uses kid logic, so he's not completely stupid. He believes that his family has been wished away because he goes outside and he sees that the cars are still in the garage. So in his mind, it means that they didn't drive to the airport because he assumes they would have taken the cars to go to the airport. He didn't know
Yeah.
about these shuttles.
Yeah, he's still a stupid kid, but he's not completely stupid.
And I like that it also ties into when they're on the plane, the parents, they're trying to figure out like if they forgot something. The dad is like, oh yeah, I did leave the garage open. That's what I forgot, which he did. You can see when Kevin goes outside, the garage is completely unlocked and the light is on.
Yeah,
Mom finally realizes that she forgot Kevin. Well, everybody is very panicked. The phone lines are still down, so they can't even call him. One of the scenes that I really like when Kevin is exploring his house alone by himself, he goes into the basement and he sees the basement furnace, which we've talked about in another film. I can't remember which one. How things in the basement are like peak childhood fears. And he just hears it heating up and he gets so terrified that he runs away. And this sets up a really nice arc to the film later that we'll talk about.
hmm
And once this has happened, Kevin is really trying his best to be a normal kid. We see him doing his morning routine. He's narrating what he's using, including like the toothpaste and the shampoo and the hair gel. The thing it reminded me of, I don't know if you've even seen this film before, is American Psycho, where Patrick Bateman is talking about his morning routine. It just really reminded me of that for some reason.
which is which is somewhat ironic considering what Kevin could potentially do to these thieves later.
Exactly. But even with this, we see that Kevin is not sad right now. He's happy. He keeps saying, oh, I'm eating trash and watching films. Come out and stop me. Buzz, I'm going through all of your stuff. Come out and pound me. He's really enjoying the fact that his tormentors are no longer here to stop him from doing whatever he wants.
Which, again, as we said earlier, he was sad for a moment, but then remembered that they were tormenting him.
Yes. Kevin's first real moment of fear, outside of when he was trying to just face the furnace in the basement, he hears the burglars, our burglars Harry and Marv, who have been casing the entire neighborhood by pretending to be police officers, and they know that the McCallisters are away. So they come to the basement door. They try to get in. Kevin freaks out, but he's smart enough to keep them away. He turns on the light. It scares him off, and he just runs upstairs and hides under the bed. So he's a little bit brave. He's not completely over the top, ready to
Yeah.
fight anybody right now.
If I can't see the problem, it's not there.
Exactly. He's still a kid. So I think that's one of the things we'll talk about in our cause of celebration or death is that Kevin is an 8-year-old kid. So
Yeah. Which which before we get into the shenanigans that happens with Kevin and the burglars, I just want to put this out here. Even though it works for the movie, the Wet Bandits are terrible burglars.
yeah.
Because let's just think about this like this. If you think that there even is a second of like suspicion that the house you're about to break into is occupied, you move on.
Yes, and I like that they tried to give an explanation, but I didn't really buy it. That for some reason this house is the money house. This is gonna have jewels and unsecured bearer bonds. Essentially, this is like Nakatomi Plaza, essentially to the Wet Bandits, where this house is worth all the trouble that they're going to go into.
Seriously, yeah, the silver tuna, as I keep saying.
Yeah, but yeah, I did think that stretched believability a little bit.
Meanwhile, after they've already burglarized like what, like seven houses before this,
Yeah, that this house is worth coming back to 3 nights in a row. So like, yeah, is it really worth all that trouble? Kevin is initially really scared by the appearance of the Wet Bandits that first night. He talks himself out of it and he says, like, I'm not afraid anymore. He tries to have this brave moment when he goes outside and says, You hear me? I'm not afraid. Only cousins and his brother Buzz have told him is actually a serial killer who killed people with a shovel and used the salt in his bucket to turn the bodies into mummies. And so he goes back into his like kind of fear state almost immediately upon seeing his neighbors. So right now, Kevin is afraid of his furnace, his neighbor, and the burglars. He has to overcome several fears by the end of the film. Once Kevin has scared off the burglars, we see the next morning the first attempt by the family to deal with this problem. They've gotten off the plane, they're in Paris. They can't apparently reach anybody on the phone because everybody that they know is away on vacation.
yeah, and the police are not taking the situation seriously at all. Which I don't know if it's a cause of celebration or death. I don't know, but it's just.
We'll get to that. And so the mom finally gets in contact with somebody that sends a police officer to the house. The officer knocks, nobody answers, and then the officer says, "Yeah, I don't know what's going on here. Tell them to recount their kids." And then he just walks away.
Which. Mm,
Chicago Police Department. Same police department who, when Kevin sees the scary serial killer, quotation neighbor again, when he goes out to buy a toothbrush, they chase him because that kid stole a 99-cent toothbrush. Chase him down.
which. Uh,
So I felt like that part with the police was pretty unrealistic. But what we see is all of the elements of the story kind of coming together at this point. The parents have been calling everybody, leaving voice messages because everybody has an answering machine. I forgot about answering machines, like how big they were back then. They're saying, "Hey guys, we're in Paris. We're still here." The Wet Bandits who are breaking into all the other homes in the neighborhood hear this and they realize eventually Kevin is actually a home by himself. They realize his attempt to fool them, including putting up all these mannequins pretending he's having a party, it's just been a ruse in order to keep them away.
which the ruse is that he does works like three times before they're like, ah, screw it, we're gonna go in anyway. Which, again, if you think there is enough reason to doubt, you don't do.
Yes. So they're like, we know this kid is in there by himself. This house is still worth breaking into, even with the child there. I don't know what they expected to find in that house.
Yeah.
We see Kevin doing more of his, kid antics, sliding in the house, all kinds of things like that. He successfully goes shopping to buy food. And you get the idea that he's becoming a little bit better at being independent, although this is probably only day two. While we see him getting more comfortable being an adult, there's a moment that I really like. You see him go back to the basement. He's doing laundry, kind of sloppily, but he's doing laundry. And
Yeah.
the furnace starts to growl again. He just looks at it and tells it to shut up. So he's not
He just
scared of the furnace
yeah.
anymore. We see his mom has literally given away her jewelry possessions in order to get a flight back to the United States. She can't get a direct flight back to Chicago, so I believe she goes from Dallas to Scranton, I believe, and then she has to get a ride in a budget rental van, I believe, with John Candy and his polka performers. He's part of a
Which
polka band.
yeah, which number one, I love that scene for multiple reasons. Just first of all, you have her actor just like absolutely like doing a great job portraying a mother that is at her wits end, and her speech she gives to the person that's helping her with the flights, which I feel so bad for the guy who's like has to be on the end of that just that mother rage. But I love the speech where she's just like, "Yeah, I've been awake for 60 hours. I'm tired and I'm dirty. I don't care if I have to hitchhike home or beg the devil. I'm going home to my kids." And he's just like, "Ma'am, I'm sorry."
Yes, that's something we'll point out. Catherine O'Hara, who does a lot of comedic stuff, I had forgotten that she was the mom in this. I think she does great work in this, but I'll save that discussion for later. But yeah, I
Yeah, I just
absolutely love that conversation. You literally see her giving her possessions, pleading and begging for people, hitchhiking with a polka band in order to get home. It's Christmas Eve. Kevin goes to see Santa and he tells Santa that he wants his family back. He sees Santa after he's left and he's heading home for the night, but the guy does a decent job of giving him three green Tic Tacs. He doesn't have any more candy canes. And while he's walking home after seeing Santa and saying that he wants his family back, he sees other families like just in the windows of their houses and he starts to feel lonely. And you see him go to church and he's just watching a choir sing on Christmas Eve in the church. And in one of the pews, he sees the scary old man Marley, who comes over to him, sits down, and he starts to tell him why he doesn't need to be afraid of him. He tells Kevin, I know what people say about me. None of that stuff is true. He's not some kind of serial killer. And he shares with Kevin the story of he's there at the church to see his granddaughter. His son doesn't talk to him, so he sees his granddaughter in secret. And Kevin asks, like, oh, why doesn't your son talk to you? He says, well, family is complicated. You love him, you hate him. And he had some falling out with his son a long time ago, and they never spoke since. And he's afraid to call him. And Kevin is like, well, why are you afraid to call him? He said, well, what if he doesn't pick up? And Kevin tells a great analogy comparing that to the furnace in the basement, saying, like, yeah, I used to be afraid of it, but then I got over it.
which is the best kid answer he could have possibly given.
Yes. I love that this is not some super precocious kid who gives him all these exact psychology terms to describe what he's going through. He just says, like, yeah, I was afraid of this thing, but now I'm not afraid of it anymore. You got to get over your fears. And I really feel in so many ways this is the heart of the story of like the entire film. This story about how family is complicated, how you may wish that they aren't there, but ultimately it matters so much. After this conversation, Kevin heads out of the church. He knows because he heard the Wet Bandits say that they were going to come back at 9 o'clock, that he has to be ready by 9. The church chimes go off. I counted, there were 8 of them, so it's 8 o'clock. So he gets home, and in 1 hour, he sets up all of the elaborate traps that we're going to, see happen in the course of
which
the in sequence.
which we'll
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 get
get
there.
there.
We'll get there. Once we get to this scene, the thing that's kind of funny, Home Alone is really popular because of this end sequence with the burglars. It's only about 15 minutes.
Yeah, that's the thing. People love Home Alone for like the like outrageous and like cartoony trap sequences and beating up the burglars, but like there's a whole other movie before that.
Yes, I really like the burglar scene, even though I said most of my favorite gags are apparently in the second film. The stuff that always makes me laugh is how cartoonish Harry and Marv are. I love Joe Pesci because he's just doing cartoon swearing. He's like Yosemite Sam, where he's not saying profanity. He's like, rock. He's just like mumbling stuff. Where
Which, first of all, let's just step back out there and address this now that we're here. Because Joe Pesci, he outside of Home Alone, he was like the tough guy of the 90s and 80s.
exactly,
I'm
and
pretty
the
sure.
profanity expert. So
Yeah, so like for the fact that he had to like invent a way to cuss without cussing, it's just like if he were spit out a sugar honey iced tea, you wouldn't blame him. But
So I actually like that. And that was something that I actually noted because I've mentioned this to you before. When I watch some PG movies from the 80s, I recognize just how much profanity there is in them. I was shocked at how much profanity there was in Back to the Future. Home Alone, there are a couple of swear words, but not nearly as many as most other PG films from that time. So I was
yeah,
actually
yeah,
surprised by that. So Joe Pesci's comedic swearing, Daniel Stern, his high pitched screaming, that really made the characters work. I don't even think I need to go on some kind of long thesis about why people falling down, especially on ice, is funny.
yeah. Well, here's the thing: if because it's a movie, we can enjoy it, but in real life, if I see something like that, I'll first think, okay, are they okay? Let me confirm that, then I'll laugh.
Let me tell you who would not confirm if a person was okay if they tripped and fell on
Oh
ice.
boy,
Your mother.
you know what? That's Rex.
I think one of the hardest times she probably ever laughed in life was when she watched me fall on ice back when I was working at Sears paint and hardware store. her and I think your Aunt Myra were dropping me off. It was during the winter. I got out of the car, walked towards the store, slipped on ice. I literally like saw stars looking up, and what I see is her mouth wide open, and I could hear her laughing, and the glass is just fogging up on the car because that's how much she was laughing at me, completely like knocked out on the street in the middle of like winter. Yeah. So yeah, falling on ice always funny. I do want to give a shout out to my favorite of the gags that happens during this end sequence. When Marv is in the basement and he is stepping on the stairs and there's thick tar on it, and you see his shoes have been taken off by the tar, his socks have been taken off, so he's barefoot, then he steps on the nail. That is my favorite setup and gag in the entire sequence of the end. I absolutely love that. The way he falls back, it's such pure cartoonish like violence and setup. I absolutely love that one.
Well, I love that scene. There's so it's hard to pick out a favorite scene when it comes to burglar like nonsense because I have so many that are just my personal favorites. Even though I question like how they still be alive after it, but
Yeah.
like that one is well, that's a good one. But my other that which might be my favorite, it's the one where it's the one where the tarantula is on them.
Oh yes,
he,
his scream when the tarantula is on him is iconic.
no, it's that too, but it's the other one I like where the tarantula moves to the other burglar, Joe Pesci, and he's like, Marv, what are you doing? And he's just like trying to assert over the situation, and he's like, Marv, Marv?
Yeah.
Oh man.
So he foils the burglars for the most part. He actually flees to a neighbor's house. He had already called the police and told them to basically go to the neighbor's house. The burglars eventually get one step ahead of this 8-year-old. They have him cornered. They actually hang him up on a coat hook while they discuss what they're going to do to him. But then the old man Marley shows up and knocks him out with the shovel, saving the day, and the burglars get arrested.
Which he knows how to swing that mill shovel.
Exactly. I was like, yeah, he is a serial killer.
Crazy how that knocked him out, but not all the other stuff.
Exactly. Paint can to the face are fine, but a shovel, which I would not assume was that heavy because it's like a long, broad, flat shovel, knocked him out completely. The burglars are whisked away. The funny thing is, Kevin is still alone at this point in time. Hasn't told anybody, including old man Marley, that he's at home by himself. He called the police to his neighbor's house, so the neighbor's, home has been taken over by the police. Nobody still knows he's there by himself. Kevin goes back home. He sets out milk and cookies. And in the morning, when he wakes up, he goes downstairs and he expects really to see his mom. And she's not there at first. Her van pulls up, drops her off, and then she shows up. I really like this moment when they are back together again because at first he looks a little bit angry. Like just a little bit. Then he cracks a smile and he can't help but just be overwhelmed like his mom is back. And she's just like, I am so, so sorry.
Yeah.
And in a very nice button to the scene where he's like, oh, where's everybody else? And then they all show up because instead of going through the over the top antics that their mom did in order to get back, they just took the flight home that they already had set up and they come back. So Kevin has
Which
an entire family back with him.
which I don't know how I feel about that.
Yeah. And he looks out the window and he sees that old man Marley has taken his advice and rekindled with his son. They're all together on Christmas. And so that is the end. That is Home Alone. And so we'll take a quick break and then we'll come back with our causes of celebration. Going out of town, heading somewhere warm while your house just sits there full of your valuable stuff, then trust Sherlock Home Security, the service that keeps a very close eye on your home while you're away. Before your trip, one of our highly observant specialists will stop by to check every door and window repeatedly. We'll take detailed notes on valuable items for insurance purposes. We'll test how long lights stay on, and we'll monitor your mail pile just to make sure it's really piling up. We'll even ask helpful questions like, so what day are you flying back? Are there any nosy neighbors we should avoid? And do you just leave that basement door unlocked all the time? With Sherlock, you'll enjoy peace of mind knowing someone is definitely keeping track of your schedule very closely. Use promo code POSTMORTEM for a free vacation readiness assessment. Sherlock Home Security. When you're away, we're on the job. Okay, and we're back. And so let's get into our causes of celebration. So I'll let you kick it off.
Yeah. First off, and this is going to be a unique cause celebration. Not unique as in like it's kind of like a hot take, but like it's a hot take based on your preferences. Me, I love Kevin McCallister. I feel like he is a great child actor in this movie, and I feel like he does a great job for what the story needs him to be.
Yes. I feel like this film lives and dies based on what you think of Macaulay Culkin as Kevin.
Yeah.
He's a smart aleck, but he's not annoying. I didn't hate watching him. In a lot of films, I can't stand watching kid actors. I'm just going to put that out there.
But here, we have something that works. Kevin is only annoying when his family's there. I feel like that's what makes it for this movie.
Yes, he has to give that balanced performance of being annoying, but being innocent and having growth in a character arc that makes you see his sweet side and you see him come around to being a better person by the end of the film. And I
Yeah.
think Macaulay does a great job of that throughout the course of this film. My first call of celebration was actually something that I completely have forgotten. I forgot that John Williams did the score for this film. When that popped up in the credits, I was like, "Oh, John Williams did this." And then when the music started playing, I was like, "Yep, John Williams did this."
I'm not necessarily familiar with John Williams, or I don't remember. Can you enlighten me real quick?
So John Williams has done the score for most of the films that people would say are probably some of the biggest films in like Hollywood history. He went on to do like Harry Potter after this. He
Hmm.
did Schindler's List, Jaws, Jurassic Park, Raiders of the Lost Ark, Superman.
Oh, okay.
Most of the like most famous pieces of music are probably like his that you would associate with lots of different movies. So
Oh,
like
so we got top brass here of music making here.
yes. So when I heard this, I was like, "Oh, I didn't know he did something like this." But what it reminded me a lot of was Harry Potter. So Hedwig's theme in Harry Potter, which is kind of what most people would think of when they think of Harry Potter music, sounds a lot like the music they play in this film. So I was like, "Ah, that makes sense." But I had forgotten that he actually did this film. So just his score, the emotional impact it has, I was like, yeah, that's John Williams. I was very happy and surprised to remember, I guess, that he did this. I was like, yeah, that sounds like him.
My next cause celebration is absolutely Catherine O'Hara as the mom of Kevin McCallister. She is, without a doubt, the second most important character in this movie. Her acting is really good when she's just like distraught and barely holding it together. Like I mentioned it before in our plot rundown, her like meltdown with the assistant at the desk, just amazing.
Yeah, as I mentioned before, I had known her for a lot of her comedic roles, and not to say this is not comedy, but I think her larger, more kind of broad, showy comedic roles, like as Moira in Schitt's Creek, which I think most people know her from, which was hugely successful for her, it made me forget that she did this really nice, sweet, heartwarming acting in comedy films like this. And as you said, you need her to be a sympathetic character because she's a mom who left her child alone. That's a person that you can
While
easily
she
see
is
as a
literally
villain
flying away to another state.
in first class. It's easy to hate a character like this. So she has to be someone who can really get your sympathy, and she does a great job of that. My next cause of celebration is for a film that has an admittedly cartoonish ending. I like the fact that they do a good job in the story of establishing every single thing that Kevin will do at the end of the film. I think it's something that rewards people who do rewatches. You can see all of the elements that Kevin is going to use to thwart the burglars in the film, starting from the very beginning. You constantly see the spider, number one. You hear the talk of the ornaments, the matchbook cars. You see the gun. You see the paint cans. You see the mannequins that he's going to use as a distraction in the basement during the scene where he's going down there to look at the furnace and when he's doing his laundry. So every little thing is actually there. You could argue whether or not you believe that Kevin could set up all this stuff, especially in the time that he has, but it's all there. The glue gun, you hear him talking about that. So all of it is really well laid out.
Yeah,
I don't think that this comes out of left field the same way that we talked about in A Nightmare on Elm Street, where all of a sudden Nancy is building traps just seemingly out of nowhere. I feel like at least with this film, they set up where this stuff was coming from. This was all in the house. And even there's a little bit of lore story wise, including what was Kate's job. Apparently, she was a fashion designer. That's why she had so many mannequins in the basement to explain why these things were there for him to use.
yeah. I was half expecting him to use the aftershave as a trap almost.
Yeah.
Just really round it off.
So we'll take a quick break and we'll come back with our causes of death. Is your family vacation coming up? Worried about losing your kids in busy airports? Worried that so many kids nowadays look exactly the same from behind? Then you need Kid Count, the only child tracking app designed for parents who refuse to ever leave somebody behind again. With Kid Count, each child receives a tiny, painless, invisible microchip directly beneath the skin, and it syncs directly to your phone. If they stray more than 15 feet away, an alarm blasts at an unbelievably high decimal. It alerts you, airport security, cops, and maybe even summons a few priests. Perfect for airports, train stations, family reunions, and any situation where you suddenly realize one of your kids is being quieter than usual. Kid count. Because forgetting your phone is fine. Forgetting your kid can turn into a franchise. Okay, we're back. So we went over several large causes of celebration for this film. We both think pretty highly of it. So are there any things that we would consider causes of death? Do you have
I
anything?
would,
Okay, go ahead.
again, well, this might be a little minor like thing. And again, I don't know if it's a true cause of death, but I'm just going to put this out here anyway. I think outside of his mom, Kevin's family are either just like jerks or just afterthoughts.
The real heart of the film, as we talked about during the rundown, is the conversation that Kevin has with old man Marley about how family can be complicated. You may not like them all the time, even if you love them. And the truth of the matter is, Kevin and his family were in a very high tense situation where they were nobody was on their best behavior in that household the night before they were going
Okay.
to go to Paris.
Yeah, that's fair. But like, just it still stuck with me. Just the uncle scene where he's like, "Look what you did, you little jerk." I'm just like,
Yeah.
"Dad, I'm gonna need you to be a parent here."
Yeah. Yeah, I felt like that was not realistic at all. That literally nobody said anything about how over the top that was.
Yeah, but not just that. But once the focus is on the mom and she's on her quest to go back home, the family just kind of just disappears until the end of the movie, which again is a double edged sword. Like we get great scenes of her with her breakdown and begging everyone to help her, but number two, Dad, that's also your kid. Like, and I get it that he's staying with the rest of the family to help coordinate them, but there were two other adults there. Go with your wife. And for some reason, the dad is like barely a character.
Yeah, I would say this suffers from that kind of tropish writing where dad is literally just a guy who stands around and doesn't do anything in the story at all. You could almost say the story would be exactly the same if it was just Kevin's mom as a single mother and there was no husband, because that's how much he contributes to the story. And again, I'm not defending it and saying you're wrong about the point. I feel like that's one of the things that would be there in a longer script because I would agree. One of the things that I really like that does show the family members reacting when they're in Paris, it involves Buzz talking to one of his cousins about why he's not worried about Kevin at all. And I like the reason that he gives. Like, number one, I'm not that lucky.
Okay, it's funny, but what the hey, Buzz?
He's like, two, we have smoke detectors. And three, we live. He says, and D, we live on the most boring street in the world, or something.
Yeah, he's like one BD.
Yeah. So yeah, like there could have been some more interactions with the family, but they're just a plot device to help us believe that Kevin would be sincere in wishing away his family. Yeah, so for the sake of the story, you have to believe that these are all people who would allow this to happen, who don't do more to get home or to get him any help, or for one of my causes of death, that there is absolutely nothing that the Chicago Police Department could have done to remedy the situation. Okay, somebody is reporting a child has been left home by themselves, and because nobody answers the door, they just leave. I actually wrote that as one of my major script stitch ups because I feel like that is such a major misstep that you have to address how that happened. For some type of script stitch up that I was thinking about, I think it's fine for us to move into this area right now. I was thinking, have some type of rational explanations for why the cop didn't actually go to check on Kevin, but you think that they did. Whether it was somebody being told to go to do this by dispatch, but somebody getting a message mixed and somebody thinking like, oh yeah, I'm going to check it out. And then it falling off the table and it never got done. And then the family is still wondering why the cops haven't checked on Kevin. And then the police like, no, we followed up on that. Well, we'll get back to you. But the fact that a cop literally didn't do their job, and that's the reason you could say, like, yeah, well, this is what had to happen. I feel it's better if you just show them not doing it rather than to say that they just say, like, oh, well, tell them to count their kids again. Like, that just doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, that's fair. I can see that.
Because again, like I understand why Kevin is hiding from the police and everybody else. He's lying. He's saying my mom and dad is here. He's hiding from cops. He doesn't want anybody to know he's home alone. But I understand why a cop would say, "A missing 8 year old." Yeah, whatever. I had one more slight stitch up. We see Kate, the mom, having a conversation with John Candy's character, the Polka King, in the van right before we see Kevin wake up on Christmas morning. And it's just him and her talking about being bad parents because she's saying like, "Oh, I feel like I'm a really bad mom," and John Candy is telling in stories about everybody in the band being bad parents. I just felt like it didn't really add anything to the story at that point in time because I really just wanted to get to the end at that point. It was like, okay, Kevin went to sleep, and now I want to see him wake up on Christmas morning. So I felt like that needed to be moved to earlier in the film or just cut. I didn't feel it added anything.
Yeah, I wouldn't say you cut it because, like, I'm pretty sure the point of the scene is just showing the mom that yes, she did leave her son at home, but she's not that bad.
Yeah, yeah, that's fair. I could see that.
Yeah, because I'm pretty sure that's why it's even there to begin with.
Yeah.
Maybe we could move it potentially, but I don't know when else we would move it. Maybe like while she's like on the phone and talking to other people, possibly.
I just felt it was something that needed to be earlier because I felt like right then and there, Kevin going to sleep and then cutting to her and John Candy having a conversation and then cutting back to Kevin waking up. I just felt like it just didn't
Yeah,
fit in that like sequence.
that's fair. I have a completely different problem with that. My problem is the fact that the rest of the family shows up like 5 minutes after the mom shows up.
Yes, exactly.
That's my issue.
I like that they do try to have a slight. I don't know if I would really say he made amends with like Buzz, where Buzz is like, "Oh well, good job not burning the place down," but like it's hard because, like you said, we were treated to such a long sequence of Kevin's family being so mean to him in the beginning that we don't really want to have a lot of that at the end. So we want to kind of have a very quick, almost too fast resolution where everybody's hugging and Merry Christmas, everybody.
You're absolutely right. The balance between them being jerks at the beginning and them reconciling at the end is not the balance is too far tipped to the former.
You know what we need? And I just
Yeah,
thought of this. We need Uncle Frank to encounter some trap that Kevin set that hasn't gone off yet because he needs some comeuppance for what he said earlier in the film.
I
I
I would
want
not
to
be against that.
I want to see Uncle Frank, get hit by something, when he gets in the house.
Yeah, because like Uncle Frank, he didn't even correct me if I'm wrong, but did he even say anything when he got back?
I don't recall him really saying anything. So I feel like we need a moment of him to get a little bit of that payback that we all want to see in a film like this.
I wouldn't necessarily. I'm okay with payback, but you know me. Well, I love more than payback is accountability, which we didn't get.
No, there was no accountability whatsoever.
Yeah, so I feel like payback is just kind of like the bandit solution.
We need something to happen. This is where these little cheesy scenes in movies can sometimes be really fun. We look at a lot of films in the 80s, like, oh, that horrible person, they got to fall in a pool of muddy water and get all wet and their clothes ruined or something. You need something like that to happen.
Yeah,
you,
I could see that.
you need Uncle Frank's car to get like a tree branch fall on it or, something.
Again, I could see that.
So that's now my big script stitch up. We need to give Uncle Frank some type of comeuppance in this film. So let's summarize and revisit our scores. So for me, I think this is still a classic holiday film that has heart, a great comedic ending, and a great performance by Macaulay Culkin, great supporting performance by Catherine O'Hara. It's a film that has really withstood the test of time for a reason. It's not my favorite of the Home Alone films, but you remember why this was such a successful film. So with that, I'll stay with my 4 out of 5 stars.
Yeah, that's fair. Because stepping outside of our cause of death and our little breakdown of the suspension of disbelief, that's really the only major problem that's there, the suspension of disbelief. Besides like the family being kind of like an afterthought almost. The rest of the problems that we pretty much talked about in the movie aren't necessarily there for that long. And so I feel like this is a 4 out of 5 movie. I'm with you. I raised my score.
So that's it for this episode of Movie Postmortem. Don't forget to like and subscribe and give us 5 stars because even bad podcasts deserve a good review. Remember, whether it's good, bad, or just a guilty pleasure, every movie deserves a postmortem. Thanks for listening.
And as always, keep the change, you filthy animal. We'll see you next time.